Hello out there. It's week 12 of the NFL season, which means it's week 12 of the MCC season, which means it's the week 12 edition of the MCC News. I am your host, five-time MCC champion, Alan Morrow. Now, let's get to the news. Week 11 rewind. Real simple. Lee won high points. Number one in the league. Number one last week in points. High points with a score of 169.26. Now, this is Lee's second time winning high points. First time was all the way back in week 1. He also has set a new high score of the season, beating out Jeremy's 156.02 in week 3. So, Lee, everything's coming up spades for you, my man. He's on the cusp of perhaps closing out the best back-to-back seasons in MCC history, getting a couple high points here. Now he just has for the playoffs and hopefully another championship to look forward to. But there's 11 of us here. I hope that doesn't happen. Low points, James. He got low points on the year on the week with 90.02. Once again, everyone crossed the 90-point threshold, which is good as a league in general. This is James' third time with low points, tying Jeremy for the most on the season. Closest matchup, Doug over myself by 2.6. I believe it was like basically 109 point something, 106 point something. Taysom Hill scored, I think, 38 points for Doug, which helped him close that. It was disappointing. We both probably underperformed score-wise, but either way, very close, very devastating. It really sucks. Screw you, Taysom Hill. And then the biggest blowout, Lee over Jeremy by 74.6 points. This is now the largest blowout of the season, beating out Schrader's blowout of Adam last week of 67. So once again, everything coming up spades with Lee. This is the fourth time though Jeremy has been the losing end of the biggest blowout of the year. So he's been blown out by 39 points, 32 points, 32 points, and now 74 points. So that's just kind of the year Jeremy has been going. Yeah, so he holds that category alone by himself. He's tied for the most low points, and he also now is a solo winner of the most times being blown out. And then with next is Only If I Had a Different Schedule. Ben, first time Ben has won this one. He would beaten 7 other teams with a score of 125.82. Will was fortunately able to beat him by about 5 points. Tough luck for Ben on a tough luck season for Ben altogether. This is Ben's first time winning this category. So better luck to you in most likely next season. And with next is the matchup of the week. Myself versus Will. I'm 5-6. Will's 4-6. We are currently 7th and 8th in the standings. The two on the outs looking into the playoffs. This week's very simple. The winner odds of making the playoffs significantly increases. The loser, it probably dooms their chances. It becomes very, very difficult for them to squeak into the playoffs at this point. So this is a big matchup between Will and I. Will is 5th in points on the year. I'm 7th, so very close. Will also has the most points against, and I have the 4th most points against. So who knows what's going to happen in this one? My guess is we're both, one of us is going to be the winner next week of Only If I Had a Different Schedule, because we would beat every other team in the league besides the one that we played. So that's my prediction of the matchup of the week. There you go. No luck to you, Will. All right, next segment here. So what are my chances of making the playoffs? So here we're going to go over some playoff chances. We note that all these odds and percentages, they were calculated purely from the history of each team's score this year. It does not take projections or buys into account. It uses the data to run 10,000 simulations of each matchup given the team's average and standard deviation. So this is kind of how it all plays out. So we're going to kind of break this off in a couple of categories. One, show the teams that are currently in the playoffs as of today, and the teams currently out of the playoffs and how they can go back in. So let's do the teams that are in the playoffs first. Playoff percentage, teams currently in. Lee and Doug are both projected to make the playoffs 100%, no questions asked. Lee currently has about a 84.5% chance of getting the first seed. and Doug's most likely to get the second seed at 83%. So these two are probably safe to move in there. Next, currently, the way the screen shows are the teams listed in current standings. They're not in order of highest chance. So the next is Jim. He has just over a 90% chance of making the playoffs. Very strong. He's currently third, the only team with 7 wins. Everybody else has 6 or less. But the seed that he's most likely to fall into, his highest percentage is at 35%, is the third seed right now, currently what he's in. The next would be Gabe, who's currently in fourth place, but he has a 95.7% chance to playoffs. So he even has a better chance to make the playoffs than Jim does, based on, obviously, Gabe sold off draft picks and upped his roster, so good for him. He's also highest percent chance he has is hitting the third seed at 43%. Currently in fifth place, Schrader has an 87, just about an 87.5% chance of making the playoffs. His highest percent seed is fifth place with 31%. He also basically has 10.5% of being that seventh seed and missing the playoffs altogether. Then our current sixth seed, Tyra, is the lowest of the bunch of the current playoff teams at 53.65%. And the interesting thing is the seed he's the highest percent chance seed he has right now is actually the seventh seed. So at 25.8% chance. Hitting the sixth seed is only 19.76% chance. So Tyra actually, even though he's close to 50-50, just above 50% to make the playoffs, but his most likely seed is seventh seed here. So tough luck there, Tyra, if it ends up happening. So let's look at the teams that are currently out of the playoffs. So we'll go with the current seventh seed, myself. I have a 43.53% chance to make the playoffs. Just like how I'm on the outside looking in. Unlike Tyra, my highest percent seed is the sixth seed at 23.68%. I have a 17.5% of the seventh seed and almost a 19% chance of hitting that eighth seed. So I have a lot of wide variety there. But I do have a 0.55% chance of being that third seed. With that being said, I should have said earlier on the previous slide, Lee has an 85.5% chance of making that first seed. Doug has a 15% chance of hitting that first seed. The only other team that has a percent chance to hit that first seed is Jim at a 0.03% chance. So that's just a fun little thing. Jim, you still can get that number 1 overall seed. Back to the losing teams here out of the playoffs. Next is Will, the other participant of Matchup of the Week. He only has a 13.43% chance of making the playoffs. So not great odds. His highest percent seed is the 8th seed currently at 25.4%. Next, Adam, 15% chance to make the playoffs, slightly higher than Will. But just like Will, he has a 26% chance of that 8th seed, and that's his highest percent chance. Next would be James, a 0.44% chance of making the playoffs. He's most likely hitting the 10th seed at just under 31%. Ben, 0.13% chance to make the playoffs, so keep trying out there. Most likely hitting that 11th seed at 35%. And Jeremy has a 0% chance of making the playoffs. He has a 44.5% chance of finishing dead last in the league. So there you go. There's some of the playoff odds. So it's not all doom and gloom for everybody. A lot of us still have something to fight for, except for Jeremy. Next, might as well, if we're going through our playoff chances and odds, let's look at Jeremy's 5 out of 6 check-in. Not much has changed. Still, he has 3 correct, 3 incorrect. Doesn't look like he will win this one. He has himself, who has a 0% chance of making the playoffs, as won the playoffs out, so now he has to hit all 5 out of 5. One of them is James with a 0.44% chance of making the playoffs, and the other one is Adam with a 15% chance of making the playoffs. So very unlikely. It looks like Jeremy and James are going to be the ones that definitely kill this bet for Jeremy. But another year, another loss. I think about 5 or 6 of you took him up on this bet. So Jeremy's out another $50 to $60 on this bet. So congratulations, Jeremy. you're failing on all ends of the spectrum right now. Next, Tyrus Fab Thoughts. Weird Fab Week. We had 13 waiver claims. A lot of waiver claims. No bids were over $8. And actually, there was only one of the 13 claims that had multiple bids on it. That one was my bid on the 49ers kicker Moody for $1 that Ben bid, I believe, $0 on. So I won that bid. Congratulations to me. The two $8 bids were Darnold to Jim and Jalen Wright to Lee. Like I said, there's not much. Another notable one is Will Disley went to Will, and Schoonmaker went to Jim for $4 a piece. And then the last one was Ben picked up Westbrook Akine for $3, which was Ben's last $3 of fab. So congratulations. Hope he gets another 98-yard touchdown for you. So with that being said, that brings us to the end of the MCC News. So as always, let's go Lions. Fuck the Colts.